Welcome to another edition of Talk City Greensboro, produced by GTN, featuring interviews and events happening around town. It's an easy way to stay in the know while you're on the go. Subscribe to Talk City on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or SoundCloud so you can keep up with what's going on in Greensboro City government. I'm your host, Josh Johnson, and with me today, back at the round table, is Rosemary Plyben.
Glad to be back. It's been a while since we've been together.
Like it's been a long time.
It has, but back and ready to go.
Yep.
We're going to talk about housing a little bit today.
All right.
The City of Greensboro's Housing and Neighborhood Development Department is really a catalyst for revitalization, development, and implementation of affordable housing programs, and really can kind of improve the lives of all of us. Mm-hmm. It's all about investing all over Greensboro to build better communities and really improve the quality of life for every neighborhood. Today, the Director of Housing and Neighborhood Development is here, Michelle Kennedy. Hello and welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
We're so glad you're here.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
So, Michelle, our intro kind of gave listeners an overview of the department, kind of his mission statement, but there's so much more involved to achieve the goals. So can you give us an idea of kind of the parts that make up the department?
Sure. I mean, housing and neighborhood development is really here for exactly that, to try to strengthen neighborhoods. And for us, most of that work surrounds housing. Mm-hmm. So we do everything from affordable housing development, both multifamily and single family, to making sure houses are safe from issues like lead-based paint for children. Code compliance is a big
right.
topic of conversation within our department. And then we're also responsible for issues related to homeless services within the city of Greensboro.
Okay, let's talk about affordable housing a little bit, because that's an urgent need, always an urgent need, right?
Always, yes.
And can you tell us about the Housing GSO plan?
Sure. So Housing GSO was adopted by Council in October 2020, and it really was the outcome of a pretty significant study to determine what we need and how do we get there, the roadmap for the future for housing. So what we really are focused on within the Housing GSO plan, really 4 key areas: access to affordable rental properties, how we're going to reinvest in neighborhoods, access to home ownership, and then supportive housing for folks that need that.
And it seems like, during the past 2 years, that need has only gone up. Since council enacted that,
yeah.
Affordable housing seems to be an oxymoron to a lot of people right now, I would guess.
It really is. In our world, most of us don't even use the language of affordable housing. We just call it housing, because the reality is that's really the case. We've watched affordability slip away for many, many residents in Greensboro over the last couple of years, and that situation is only getting worse.
And so how do we get back on track and actually make some steps forward?
So a lot of it has to do with working with our development community to make sure that we can create housing that's affordable. It has to do with looking at models that we maybe haven't considered before. If you look at the types of housing in the city of Greensboro, it's not super diverse. So looking at things like triplexes or looking at things like alternate housing styles that we may not have considered before that can come with cost savings. We are involved in a lot of projects that involve tax credits and things of that nature. One of the biggest things we've done recently is council approved the purchase for one of our partner agencies of a motel for a motel conversion to affordable permanent supportive housing for people transitioning from homelessness. Mm-hmm.
So neighborhood development kind of goes hand in hand with housing opportunities for residents. So why is that important, not only to find the housing, but to also address the neighborhoods?
It's a partnership, right? Mm-hmm. We're not here to come into neighborhoods and tell them what they need. We're there to make those decisions with neighborhoods and with communities. So many of our communities in Greensboro have really rich culture and identities, and we want to preserve that, and we want to protect that. So this is a partnership with the people we serve. Yeah. It's about talking to them about what are the needs you see in your community? What are the housing issues that are present? How do we make sure that people who've grown up here and lived here their whole lives and want to stay have the ability to do that through affordability?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hearing you talk a lot about communication being really important with all these different neighborhoods and sometimes competing views about what should happen. How are you bringing all those people to the table? How do you hear those voices and kind of make sure that some voices don't get too loud, I guess?
It's an interesting balance, right? We know that there are some people that are really outspoken about the issues that they see in their neighborhoods. There are a lot more people that aren't. They don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. Yeah. So we're really in the process of launching that community conversation to make sure that we're accessing community meetings, to make sure that we're touching base with the lady on your street that always knows what's going on that street. Those folks are really important in this work, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to do. Okay, so City Council authorized the 2022-23 Annual Action Plan application. Okay, what is that? What does it really mean as far as housing, affordable housing, all of that?
So once you get past all the acronyms, what that really breaks down to for us is really an assessment of the housing needs in our community and a breakdown that provides a framework for the work that we'll do over this period of time. It breaks down demographics, it breaks down the housing needs, housing types, all of those things. It really just provides the landscape for what we're dealing with. And that really works in conjunction with Housing GSO as a framework for our work.
Okay. So how can people learn more about the Housing and Neighborhood Development Department, and can they be involved? And if so, how could they be involved to help out?
So I'm really glad you asked me that. Obviously, we have a web page in the same way that all city departments do. Most of our folks are out in the community at some point during the day. Our code enforcement officers are out daily. But we've done some things lately to try to make ourselves more visible. We just wrapped all of our vehicles so folks know.
They look great too, by the way.
Thank you. I had somebody call me the first day and say, I saw a code enforcement person, a code compliance person in my neighborhood for the first time. And
were they happy to see that person or not happy to see that person? Okay, you never know.
It was somebody that had wanted that. Right. But what she didn't realize is we've been there for years. She just didn't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a little more transparency with that. So that's good too, both ways,
So we're working on a process right now to acquire some trailers that will become a mobile tool lending library.
Oh, nice.
For the community. They can be used by individuals. They can be used by larger community groups. So that's an interactive tool that we can use to start to do that. And once we get that off the ground, there'll be lots of volunteer opportunities. If there's someone that has a reason they can't do some type of yard work or something like that that they need done, we could work with everything from church groups to city volunteers to Boy Scout troops to come out and volunteer to help your neighbors.
That's fantastic. And they would just go to the city's website when that day comes, and that's where the volunteer opportunities would be.
We will launch it broadly as soon as we're ready to go.
We'll have you back on. You can come back on.
Yes,
you can tell us about that.
That's great.
That's a lot of fun. Yeah. Well, we really appreciate you spending a little time with us today. Thanks for kind of sharing with us, kind of opening the door a little bit on the department and what happens, and really how people can kind of be involved and make sure that they're not that quiet voice, that their voice in their neighborhood is heard.
Thanks so much, y'all. I appreciate it.
Yeah, come back anytime.
Thanks.
Stay tuned in weekly by subscribing to Talk City Greensboro on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. And don't forget, you can download Talk City from SoundCloud.
We're out of time this week. Thanks so much for tuning in to Talk City. Be sure to watch GTN, your official source for news and information about the city of Greensboro. GTN is available on Spectrum Channel 13,
AT&T UVerse Channel 99,
and North State Channel 31.
GTN also streams live on Roku and the city's website
at greensboro-nc.gov.